Uh, all right. So now time for the panel discussion on the role of women in today's financial services industries, opportunities and barriers. This session will be moderated by Monica ma'am. So I would request you ma'am to please take charge. All yours. Yes, I will ask for the mic.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, and it is just wonderful to see all the women in finance here. I wanted to start by saying that gender issues in India have a very wide spectrum. So either we kill them in the womb, or they go on to become CEOs. We don't feed or educate them, or they end up being prime ministers, chief ministers, women CEOs, heads of different organizations. And we only have to look across the other side of the world, to what is called the developed world, where till today, a woman president is not on the cards. It is something that the US finds very difficult to accept, a woman as the political leader, whereas India has all manner of women in all kinds of leadership positions. So really the spectrum is very, very large in terms of the role of women. But essentially, if a woman has the good fortune to, well, survive and get a good education and have the drive, I think there is far more acceptance of a woman in a leadership position in India than probably in many other countries. And it's just wonderful to be on the panel with all the women leaders. I'm going to talk about this panel in two parts. The first is the opportunity. And I want to open the conversation, of course, by talking to Dina first and saying that you saw an opportunity where it was not an opportunity. It was really more of a threat to actually come into a ring. And, so I want to make this conversation very personal. And because I think all the women, and I'm hoping the men also, want to learn from stories, anecdotes that will feed into their own lives. So what is it that made you see the opportunity? And how did you have that courage to take it?
I think, to be very honest, I did not, come to the ring thinking that I am the first woman and I want to going to the ring. We had a membership of the exchange which was in my husband's name, and he said, I was working in, I did my CA and MBA in finance, and I was working with Crompton Greaves. So I was quite bored with the 9-to-5 job. So my husband said, why don't you, go to the stock market?
Let me stop you here. CA, MBA, finance, 30, 40 years ago?
40 years ago.
How does that happen? I mean, we know that women were encouraged to become doctors or teachers, but finance?
No, I am also a lawyer and I'm also a company secretary. and I've also done a diploma in stockbroking study. No, that shows that I'm more of an academically oriented person. I really like to study, read, write. Today also, if I read a book, I'll make a synopsis of the entire book. I'll write down and in a notebook and keep it. And after some days or years, I keep reading those books. So I am an academically oriented person. And let me tell you, from the first day that I came to the ring, it was so exciting, that I have not taken a single day holiday, right from 1985 to 1995 when the ring closed. Full 10 years, I have come to the ring every working day when the ring was open. Fortunately, we had vacation in the month of December. In those times, we used to have vacation, so we could enjoy our vacation and going on a holiday or whatever. So I think once you get engaged into the markets, it is so exciting that there is no looking back. And one has to really take interest, because everything that happens in the world, if you are sensitive, to reading news, and just seeing what is happening in companies, markets, what government is doing, everything has an impact on the stock market. So I think that kind of excitement is not available, I would say, in any other professions. And of course, then I got involved in a lot of reforms also, because the kind of systems which were there 35 years ago in the stock market, we used to have settlements. Like today, if you sold your shares, you will get money after 6 weeks. No, those were the kind of delays which were there. So getting into rolling settlements, which came only in the year 2000, then setting up depositories, then getting the BSE online trading system going. So a lot of reforms, I was involved with in the stock exchange, and that made life very exciting, because we could actually see, how the changes were impacting how the business volume was growing. Like in pre-Harshad Mehta times, daily volume was 200 crores. In Harshad Mehta time, it was 600 crore. And today it is 3 lakh plus crore. Can you imagine the kind of growth which has happened? And all this growth has happened along with having stronger and stronger systems. In last 35 years, there has not been a single day when the stock exchange payout has not taken place. So we have come a very long way, and I'm very happy to see what has happened.
So what I'm hearing is that it's got really nothing to do with gender, but it's got a lot to do with your own attitude towards work. And if you are immersed in that work, then really, when you see an opportunity, you go right ahead and take it. And I want to speak to Rupa that IFA was not a word everyone understood, but you started working as an entrepreneur in this space, using a product called mutual funds, which had a lot of stigma, especially after the entire tech boom and bust, UTI, Morgan Stanley. And there's a disquiet about market-linked products. Mutual funds are seen to be, well, I can't take the risk. So to one, jump in and then dedicate your career to something like this. So how would you look at opportunity?
So Monica, I want to share something here which I think most of the people don't know. I started as an entrepreneur only because of a client of mine who was a woman. And I actually was thinking of leaving my job. And I actually
your job
left.
Was what?
I was working in a wealth management firm, and I quit that job, and then I didn't know what to do. And when she came to know, she called me and said that let us have a cup of tea. So I actually went to have a cup of tea without knowing anything. And then she said, what do you plan to do? And I said, I don't know. I said, give me some time, let me think. And the next statement that she said is, start on your own. So I actually fought with her in that meeting for almost 4.5, 5 hours and said, I can't do it. I won't be able to do it because you need a lot of talent of doing back office, front office, marketing. I said, I don't have clients. How will I survive? I have an EMI which I have to pay every month. So I need a fixed salary. And she kept on reiterating, saying that I should start on my own. And after around 4.5, 5 hours, she wrote a check and said, here's your first check, which was 3 lakhs of rupees. And she said, start on your own. And I said, I don't have a client. And she, at the end of it, she got so irritated and she said, I want to tell you something and I'm not going to listen a single word beyond this. We need people like you to manage our wealth. And we need people like you who we can trust. And we need people like you who are knowledgeable. And you need to start on your own. And that's how I started. And the next day when I went, I think the only thing that she told me was, she said, listen, this world needs people like you. People need to create wealth. There are very less people who are trustworthy. There are very less people who are knowledgeable. There are a lot of people who have to make wealth. People are wealthy, but there are a lot of people who don't have that ability to go and speak to people, understand. You should reach out to people and start on your own. And from that day till date, I've never looked back because she's the one who brought me. So
what I hear, and this is a story, this is something which resonates across many women, many stories of women leaders, is that the trigger usually is one person who has faith and trust in you.
Yeah.
That one person who says, you can do it, we have the confidence, you should go and fly. So it is important who you have around you,
Absolutely.
either as family or as friends or as mentors. Are those people pulling you down, or are they telling you you can fly?
Yeah.
So that becomes really important. And I want to turn to Lakshmi to ask that when we hear stories from entrepreneurs, I think entrepreneurs are the bravest people. They're like supermen and women. For people in salaried jobs, I think life is far easier. Even you take a holiday, your salary check will come. But unless you go to work every day as an entrepreneur, so that's another level of courage. But to get to a leadership position, there, even within the whole job structure, there is always an opportunity which comes. And women are not that brave to put their hands up because they constantly, there is a social superstructure which says, well, be quiet, you shouldn't be heard, you should be seen and not heard. And there's a whole lot of, cultural subtexts around what women can do. Any story you want to share that gets you to your leadership position here?
So I love stories, and my story is about Chennai Express. Has anybody seen the movie Chennai Express? Nobody? Okay. So Ashish has seen, I have few takers. Okay. So so Shah Rukh in that movie keeps saying Goa is on, Goa is not on. Does anybody remember? Or at least those who... So my story started with a friend of mine picking up the phone and saying Goa is on. And what does it mean by Goa is on? She was supposed to go to an interview to this firm called Credence, and she had to fly to Goa, and she says, look, I have to go to Goa, Goa is on, can you go and substitute for me in terms of interview? And this I'm talking about 20 years back, 22 years back, and I went there, and then Credence happened, and then Kotak happened. I've been with Kotak now for 20 years, and something which Deena mentioned resonated with what I have to say is that 20 years back, I was the only woman in the dealing room in Kotak, and 20 years later, I happen to be still the only woman in the dealing room. And that, to some extent, is where I have issues with women not saying yes very easily wherever they have to say yes. So, हर चीज़ के लिए लड़का पसंद है, yes, लड़की पसंद है, yes, all that yes happens very easily, but saying yes, sticking on to that conviction of yes, despite all the turbulences, staying belted, especially when you're in a market-facing role. I am not trying to put down any role, but typically in markets, the front end is where you're at the firing line. It's literally, you're the soldier of the market or the soldier of the company you work for. And therefore, because when you're at the firing line, you have to continuously be at it, ensure that you are in a bulletproof jacket, and when bullets hit you, you have to have the courage to face it and try devise strategies that you can stay longer. So staying at the crease is very, very critical, and that is the journey, and that is the success that allows you to stick on. Another thing which is very critical when you are doing a journey as a non-entrepreneur, so people like me who draw their monthly salaries, irrespective of the markets, fortunately. So the regulator has not said if markets are down, you don't get your salary. So that's the good part. But, sorry?
I hope they're working on that.
No, there's nobody from the regulator. Thank God they're not listening. But the point is that for women, or for anybody for that matter, who are in this kind of a job, I think it's very important to be empowered. And when you are empowered, you feel like an entrepreneur, though you're an employee. And I think that was my biggest motivating factor. So I'll be very dishonest if I say, oh, it was a bed of roses and it is typically like the Yash Chopra movie. It was not like that. There were thorns which came along with the roses. But what was critical is that you identify, even if you get a small prick and a little bit of blood, it's okay. And I'm anemic, still I did give out a little bit of blood. And then continuing that, trust me, is a short way to make it to the top. Because I realize in the financial services world, it might be true for the other sectors also, like the way you have a funnel, we actually have an inverted funnel. So there is a lot of, picture this marathon race, you have a lot of them at the base, and then as and when it goes higher and higher and the padao gets steeper and steeper, assuming it's an uphill marathon, you actually find many dropouts. So staying there at the top and seeing the view and say that ये बहुत सुंदर है यहाँ से, I think takes a lot of grit, lot of determination, and touch wood, I can tell myself that I've done it.
So grit and determination, staying power. Usha, what prevents women from grabbing opportunities? I mean, you've had a whole career as with the LIC and now on boards of very large, market-sensitive institutions. Obviously, there has been something in your experience in life which got you to where you are. Of course, there is personal hard work, the desire for growth. But, you know, what can you share with a lot of the young women out there? You know, why do we refuse opportunities? And I'll come to the family part in the second part because we don't want to get into the impediments just right now.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Happy to be present here and discussing this wonderful topic. I come from public sector, and public sector is slightly different from private sector, so challenges may be different and opportunities are also different. How I came was that it was sheer willpower, that I have to be financially independent. Right from school, college days, that was strongly built in our psyche. Maybe because of my mother, she was very strongly that girls should be financially independent, both myself and my sister. You should get higher education and be on your own. So that's how I got into work. Challenges are there. It's not easy, and especially 40 years back when we joined in 80s, it was not very easy. Especially in public sector, the challenge was that, on every promotion you have to move out. Transfers are a big challenge. And especially in younger years, when you have small children, you leave the children, and there's no support. There are no daycare centers, nothing, unless you have family support. And luckily, I had my in-laws taking care of my children. I could move out. But that is one very big challenge where women drop out, segregating between family responsibilities and official responsibilities. In my case, it also helps if you talk to your family what you want. Once you are in
the
career.
family piece in the second part, because there's a whole section I want to talk about, what drives us, what the barriers could be. But in the professional space, so there is, of course, the role of the family. But as a professional, is it something to do with confidence, self-worth? Because men, even with a little bit of knowledge, can sometimes portray it to be very large, and women usually understate. So is it something about us that we understate what we do?
One thing is that you have to have strong willpower. I heard many times in office that, madam, choose career or family. Again, that will come. Nobody will ask a man that you choose between career or family. They'll say, okay, you have problem, you manage it. But I heard it time and again. But that still strengthened my resolve that I'll do well on both counts. So that willpower has to be there, that I'll make it happen. And secondly, talking out your mind, Monica, it's absolutely correct. We don't give expression to our mind, First is believing in yourself, that whatever you believe, your ideas, you have confidence that you need to talk it out, and then expressing yourself. Whether, even in boardrooms, I find many times women won't speak out, that I may be right, I may be wrong, or having doubt about their own knowledge or their self-confidence may not be there. You have to have confidence in yourself, understand yourself, have full knowledge about your profession, talk it out with confidence. Even if you don't know, you are not supposed to know 100% of 100% things. So it's okay, learn about it, but express yourself.
So it's about confidence, it's about expressing yourself. Padma, I want to speak to you and ask, how can somebody build that confidence? So some people they've had very good family support as they were growing up as girls. Some may not have that, and they may be desirous of reaching this place where you appear very cool and calm and very confident. Anything that you can give as suggestion to say, how do you build that confidence? What is it that you do to get to that point?
Thanks, Monica. Actually, I think it's... Okay, I think it's a very important point that you made. Because confidence, obviously, I feel doesn't come from somewhere. We have to work on it. And then it's very easy to say that, you should appear to know everything. And like ma'am said, it doesn't happen. We don't have to know everything. But yes, building confidence, I think it's not a one-day job. It's something that we have to work on every day. And the more we read, the more we understand what's happening around us, the more we actually look into, the area that we are working in. First and foremost, I think it's the knowledge which gives us the confidence. And the more we imbibe it into practice, when we are speaking out, when we are expressing our opinions, the more it's easier for us to build up that confidence that, yes, I can do it. And I strongly believe that unless and until I believe I can do something, I will never achieve anything. So I think that confidence comes from an everyday, yes,
and
it's an
just
everyday practice.
Going at it day after day and
Yes.
having the belief.
That's right.
I want to turn to the younger ladies on the panel. And Bexy, I'll start with you. Do you think things have changed that much? I mean, we have different generations sitting on the panel, but a lot of the audience is really young women, not that far away in age from you. What is it that you want to say on this question of seizing opportunity? What is it that you did to get that opportunity, and what can you tell the audience?
Well, first of all, Monica, thanks for the compliment of considering me young. After being now that I'm on the wrong side of 40, that's great. It's difficult, probably my perception, and this is my personal perception, because though we have a lot of women luminaries at the top in the financial services, but still, anecdotally, from how I see, I don't see so many women coming to the middle management, senior management. And I think here I can just talk from my personal experience, a story. Early on in my career, in my first company, when I joined as a dealer, the most junior, most strong, and 3 years into the job, there was somebody had left and there was an opening for a portfolio manager. And I assumed that I would be considered, and it was a little alarming to me when I came to know that somebody else was being considered, who I felt was junior to me, and had almost been finalized. And I think that was a very pivot moment for me, because had I not acted at that time, I would have lost a huge opportunity which might not have given me that trajectory in my career that I have, which is, I took action. I went to my superiors and I asked them, give me reason why I am not considered for the promotion, and you're considering that person, over me. And, I convinced, and that person was a man, of course. I said, give me, and I listed down my achievements and said, I'd like to know why I am not considered for what I think should be rightfully, and they didn't have an answer. And that decision, which was almost made, was overturned. So I think what I want to give as a message to the young women is that you have to be assertive. If you feel that there are some opportunities, you have worked hard, you have done all your achievements, you have met your KRAs, and still if you feel that there's an opportunity which is not being given to you, please speak up, please be assertive. So here there are two things. One is you have to talk about your achievements, and Monica, as you rightly said, women, we tend to sometimes not talk at all, hardly talk about our achievements. And there is also something, I came to know later called the imposter syndrome, where we feel that we might have achieved not because of our actual skills, but because of luck and being at the right time, etc. So women may tend to suffer from that more. But first is you have to talk about your achievements. Men who report to me, and when I do reviews for them, the way they talk about their achievements, I think women have to step up on talking about their achievements. And if you feel there are opportunities you're getting missed, or your pay hikes are not happening, please talk about it. Don't complain about it behind with your other friends, or this is happening, it's not fair, but talk upfront and straight. So you have to be assertive.
To be politically incorrect, don't be a woman about it, but go ahead and just get what you want.
Yes, exactly.
So, any stories that you want to share on responding to that opportunity? In your case, what happened? What was the opportunity? And what made you go for it?
I think just taking on what Bexy said, the whole imposter system, syndrome. I think, we often feel that, okay, I don't know, how am I going to go and ask about this, or how can I ask? I don't know if I really deserve it. So I think what happened is I was actually initially doing an internship in my previous firm, and it was supposed to be a 2-month internship. And I really enjoyed the work, and I kind of wanted to be there, but I was going on leave for my CFA exam for a couple of months at that time. And there was no communication from their end as to, am I supposed to come back after the leave, or is the internship over? Do they want me to kind of sign on after? So I went, just had a chat saying that, these are the things that I've kind of done in the last few months in my internship. I would really like to work here. This is what I enjoy doing. And they were actually very happy to have me on board and become a full-time employee there. So I think the important thing is to actually just go and ask. The worst case scenarios, they'll say no. But often we just don't ask for the fear, and then you kind of miss out on a lot of opportunities which are right there.
So distance that hurt from yourself and say, at worst it'll be a no, and don't personalize that no. Exactly. Don't take it to heart. Like, it's really a game. You're playing a part, and at some point someone says no to you, it's okay. I mean, you just get up, dust yourself, and try again. Franny, I want to now turn to you and ask that you would have been in many situations in an international setting, different countries. My hunch is the problems are the same. How would you want to tell the young women out there that this is not particular to India? This is really a global issue.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think that everything everybody said so far, I can totally resonate with, and I can think of all kinds of different stories. For me, for my colleagues, whether it's in the United States, I lived in Europe for a year, building up a database there, and very much the same things, and the same hesitation to take risks, the same hesitation to speak up, the hesitation to. I think one of the most important things is, really surround yourself with people who aren't going to always agree with you, and who will be a little hard on you, and who will kind of tell you kind of clearly what you're seeing or what you're not seeing, and that helps you kind of bring some clarity to the different situations and persevere through them. When back in 2003, my manager, she led our international operations, and she asked if I would like to go to Europe to build our database there. And I didn't know the first thing, and Sweden of all places. I mean, so I said, okay. I said, I didn't know the first thing about being an expat. We had 2 expats. I was the second of them. And she said, okay, here's the number for the visa attorney, and and figure it out. And so I did, and my husband quit his job, and we went together for the year. And taking those risks, those opportunities when they come, even if you're not really sure what you might be getting into, but it's definitely across the board. And I think that in general, people want to do a good job and want to be recognized. Those things are the same and are through all of us as human beings. So I think it's how do we support each other and continue to across country borders, across cultural differences, how do we, continue to support each other?
Swati, in your case, do you want to share one story which the audience will find useful? Staying with this hesitation in speaking up and seeing opportunities go away and then feeling bad about it. I think this is something that all of us resonate with, that we just let it slip away.
I think in terms of, getting opportunities and losing that, maybe I felt bad when I was losing that opportunity in the initial part of my career, because I'm talking about in 94, 95, a lot of FIRs were coming in India. And that was a time when I was just into my family, building kind of period. And I was feeling bad because there were big names which were actually seeking people, and I could have got an opportunity, but I decided to kind of look at a bigger picture and stay put in the same organization, because I was looking for a work-life balance initially, in terms of, because I didn't know how many years these FIS will stay back in India. And later, much later, we had what Fidelity did with their mutual fund much later, when actually markets had grown up. So that time, initial period, I was feeling bad that if I was a man, probably I would have taken that step. But I think looking back, because the exposure which I was getting in UTI was good enough for me to keep, looking at my job. I was enjoying my job. It just, allowed me to rise in the organization. But yeah, I did feel bad about losing an opportunity. And I would just support what BSE talk about. So there was a period when, as a junior fund manager, what we used to do is that the first junior most fund manager used to get the responsibility of managing index funds along with active managed funds. Because index funds was more of, meticulously tracking, not so much scope for active management fund. So the first opportunity I got to kind of pass it on the parcel to somebody else, I had to speak up that now I have done enough. We had the lowest tracking error, we had won a lot of awards. I said, I have proven myself, now you have to give me a big responsibility. So I agree with her, we have to speak up, at least if the opportunity is not there at that time, the management registers that yes, she is willing to take responsibility, and the next opportunity could come your way.
Last question to you on this round, and your boss is sitting here. How does it work at the Bombay Stock Exchange? Do women have to constantly speak up, step up, or the promotions are gender neutral? I hope your increment is due or not due.
Frankly speaking, and I'm not saying that because Ashish is here, but in BSE, the promotions are definitely very much merit-based, not gender-specific at all. Again, why, women, we've already discussed, and most of them have said that people are not confident, people don't want to take risks, people are reluctant to move up the ladder because then they feel the hours become longer. It gets more and more difficult, responsibilities go up. Probably these are some of the reasons why women really don't want to move up the ladder also. They're quite happy in the space at which they are. Even for me, I must say that. And for every woman, like I've been in this space for more than 30 years. So I can talk from experience. You have your ups and you have your downs, right? There are certain periods when you feel that you're no longer relevant to the organization, and there are sometimes when you feel you're very relevant. But you have to ride these waves as they come and go. And over a period of time, you'll find your mojo, as we say. You'll realize that, okay, now if I do this, then I'll become relevant again. And I think all women have to they have to experience this to understand that you don't have to give up when you feel that, okay, somebody is not responding, or somebody is not giving you that feedback or the incentives, or you're not getting that sort of appreciation for your work. And but at BSE, no. Frankly, okay. It is merit.
Great. Wonderful. I'm going to move to the second part of the conversation, which is the barriers to women achieving leadership roles, staying ahead in what they do. And I want to start with two stories. One it's about a year back that I was traveling to IIM Bangalore for some work. I was consulting on a project, and they had sent a first-year master's student, a young girl, to pick me up from the airport. And I got talking to her. And she had worked for a couple of years after her graduation, and now she was in an MBA. So she was mid-20s. And I wanted to check with her that, how has it changed? Because when we were growing up, this is 40 years ago, the aspirational jobs, the good jobs for girls were school teachers or doctors, basically jobs which allow you to manage home as well as work so that both are okay. So I said, has that changed very much? She said, unfortunately, no. And this is IIM Bangalore. She's saying, there is a whole lot of talk with the men on gender equality, on work. They are very happy with colleagues. But when it comes to their marriage, a lot of them want a woman who will handle the home plus do some work. So that is the first story. This is 40 years later, a lot of places, in a lot of sense, the Indian household has not moved forward at all. The role of the woman is still very, very fixed as to being the anchor and the main person who handles all responsibilities. The second is a study from CFA Institute. In fact, I met a lady about 4 years back, and they do workshops on gender, getting more women into finance. They've done workshops across the world, and the insight from India was that, whereas the insight from the US was that when women would share problems, a lot of the problems were to deal with the workplace, equal pay, hours, facilities. The insight from India was that the biggest barrier was the home, especially the extended joint family system, where they like the money, but they don't like you going out to work. And I'm being brutally honest. These are the things that no conversation will discuss, because everybody will have stories to tell. And we don't want to accept that there is huge inequality in the way that a woman's work is seen. So I just want to actually just go down the panel, starting with you, Rupa. We'll just take 2 minutes, 3 minutes each, and address this elephant in the room, that what is it that we tell young girls? How do they manage this difficult conversation about work, about leadership, about men not being helpers, but sharers of the work?
Monica, it's going to be a challenge for all of us even today. I think all of us have gone through it. I myself has gone through it years ago. But I think there's never going to be a yes easily. You need to bargain. I think girls these days are much matured. They're very coming forward and saying that they want to be financially independent, they want to have a job, have a career. But when it comes to that marriage, they are ready to sacrifice. That's also because of the upbringing that we have it at home, where we tell the girls saying that marriage is the most important thing, children and family are most important. I think it's that upbringing that we have brought in from the young, saying that money is important, but most important thing is family, and you have to listen to the partner who comes in and their family. Nothing wrong in it, you have to, but I think there is a negotiation that you need to do. There is a partnership that you have to do. In a marriage is a partnership, and if it's a partnership, I think both of you have to share. I think somewhere we need to talk about it, and you have a choice of getting the right partners and say that what you want in life. I think it's high time that all of us put our on the table and say what we want on life. And it's going to be a challenge, but I think there is nothing harm in trying. Second important thing is speak it out. I know a lot of women don't speak it out, because when I travel across the country, even in Bombay city, when I meet a lot of women IFAs who want to do a lot, but cannot do because of family pressures, I tell them, sit on the dining table and talk about your issues. Sit on the dining table and talk about what your aspirations are. And please share and say that, yes, I will do this much. That doesn't mean that my responsibility of the house goes away. Give me an opportunity. Give me 6 months. Give me 1 month. Prove yourself. I think it's somewhere we need to sit and talk. Most of the women don't talk because of the fear. Saying that, what if I say, and it's going to be a big war in the house, saying that what will happen? There's nothing going to be a war. We always had a war with our parents for everything. Whatever we asked, we never got it. I think our parents were also as difficult as what we are in a married home.
So I'm hearing the same story. We are afraid to speak at work, we are afraid to speak at home.
Yes.
Okay. Swati?
I was fortunate to have a joint family support, so I didn't have to really bargain for what would support my career.
But you did say that family concerns stopped you from going for that big leadership role, which would have come to you had you been a man.
No, I'm saying that was a decision also because, as a woman, you bring that emotional quotient in the family. So it was also my requirement to not to stay away from the family. I'm not saying that it was, but perhaps if I was a man, I would have probably relocated my family. So in that context, I was saying that. But, you do have to prioritize. For example, you mentioned about, you want a good, family wants a good sharer, but the income sharing, but not so much as far as the work sharing is concerned. There, I think you have to draw lines, you have to prioritize. So for example, if with joint family, a lot of relatives would, expect that you can come anytime, or, you follow all the tradition to the deepest extent that is possible. I think there you have to draw line and you have to say what you can support, what you cannot, because you also have commitments elsewhere where you don't want to be generalized as, yes, you are a woman and therefore, what is expected out of you is that not what is expected out of men. You are equally competing and therefore you have to draw those lines with prioritize.
Leena, it doesn't look to me that stopped you at all, being a woman, having a family responsibility. You probably did everything.
I've been fortunate. My father-in-law, they are 9 brothers and sisters, and 5 sisters are BA, B.Ed, MA, M.Ed, and 4 brothers are all chartered accountants. Their children are all CAs and doctors. So personally speaking, I would say that I have been very fortunate where a very, from day one, all the women were working women. But when we look, like I have almost 650 franchisee offices and I have traveled almost 450 districts of India. In my travels and interactions with the families that I see, there is definitely a change. Say 10 years, 15 years ago, a person sitting in Varanasi would not have sent his daughter to Cochin for for doing her engineering and then to TCS factory somewhere, a TCS office for training. So that entire shift is happening. But any social change to happen, there will always be one generation in which it is the transitory generation, which is our generation, where where our, like my mother would not have worked, my mother-in-law would not have worked, and my sister-in-law would not have worked, so they will not appreciate what I am doing. But the day when mother is working, mother-in-law is working, sister is working, sister-in-law is working, then that entire social transformation happens. And I think we are going through that stage where in a family, especially in urban and semi-urban areas, there are so many women in a single family who are working, and there's not just one person who's working. So as more and more people who are working in a family, I think that makes a difference. And another thing is maximum support is required during pregnancy and first year of child. I think that is one period where women suffer maximum mental trauma and all to balance the home and the work life. I think that period, if support is available, and I think it is only the women who can support other women. We think that men should be supporting, but actually it is the women who should really, provide the support. And I think those changes are happening. And a lot of people are accepting that, this is a working woman. Like my daughter-in-law,
yes.
She never cooked for 7 years. But when she migrated to Canada, she learned to cook and everything she's doing on her own. But I never expected that she should be cooking because I'm a working mother. So I think that change where more and more women in the family, once they start working, you will see this change which is happening and which I think is happening. It's not...
But there are also enough stories to say that, this is what we had thought, that education and work would bring equality, would bring a better understanding of each other's work in a relationship, in a family. But that is not how it has really played out.
Still the mother has not changed, please understand. The mother thinks that my son should not be doing anything, he should be waited upon, everything should be given in his hand.
Because that is what these girls have to deal with.
That psyche changes, that mother's psyche will change when she's a working mother, when, she has got a daughter who's working, her, her daughter-in-law is working, her sister-in-law is working. So unless and until that whole atmosphere is created, we will have. But I would say that things are changing, definitely. But maybe they are not as fast enough. Maybe, all the change points have not happened, like, mother thinking that my son should not be doing anything. Like, if some mother sees you go abroad, your sons are washing vessels. They say, Arey, how can my son wash vessels? But that's the need of what the, home requirements are in that period. So unless and until that shift happens of expectation and the role that a husband is supposed to play, though he may he may have a kind of seasoning for his working life, but first 20-25 years he has been with his mother and his family, and whatever role was expected, that is not going to get wiped up overnight. So I think mothers need to change. If they change their sons, then everything will happen.
So basically, advice to young unmarried girls, look for a working mom-in-law.
Yeah, they should. They should. They should.
Prani, again, I don't think it is so different in the West. We assume that women are emancipated and everything is, all equal. But every time I have written on gender issues, I have got mails from women across the world who have said, in Italy it's like this, in France it's like this, in the US it's like this. It is not that different. Only in Hollywood movies do you have a very unreal depiction of gender equations. So, to Dina's point that if the mother has worked, things would change, how would you respond to that?
So I agree with you on that. I was fortunate in that my dad, I very vividly remember this, would always tell me, you can do whatever you want to do. You can go to whichever college you want to go to. And I have 2 sons and a daughter. My daughter's 10. And I tell her today, you stay away from those boys. They're nothing but trouble. You need to go to school. You need to get educated. You need to get a job and be financially independent before you worry about all that other stuff. And, we'll see how that goes. I mean, she's only 10. But I think it's about, I do think that, even though, and I've been also fortunate to have a very supportive husband in supporting me in my career, and him taking even a backseat in his career to let me grow and do some pretty amazing things at Morningstar. But I think that, you have to continue to work through that, have those conversations. Is a given, a give and take. And even so, even with that support, and even with, that support of my family and friends, there's times when you still feel guilty if you're not home. And, for tomorrow night, I'm missing the Christmas show, and, I'm going to watch it through Facebook Live, but, I'm not there. And you know what? Being away and working and saying that's okay, I can still see there and be there. I mean, with the, advances in technology, you have to, it's okay. You don't have to be there all the time for everybody. And that takes some time to, kind of be okay with. And even so, with all that support, you can still feel guilty for a minute, and you have to say, they're going to be okay, and you're going to be okay.
So how do you deal with guilt? I mean, guilt is, I think, it's a common woman thing of this whole guilt trip that we go on. And it's one of the things which keeps us back from, again, accepting leadership roles. So any insights on guilt and how to manage that in the context of the workspace?
So guilt is something that you cannot deny, you cannot get away from. It is going to be a part and parcel. You have to accept it. But that does not mean that it should stop you from moving ahead. So, if somebody tells me, I felt so guilty so many times because I had 2 small children. I used to leave them at work. And when you are in a 9-to-5 job, there's no way you can take leave that often. But I had a very supportive husband. So that is one. So if you have a family, and in my case, I had a very supportive husband. So I remember he was the only father in the PTA meetings. There used to be only women and my husband. So, and he did that for me, and he did that because he wanted me to progress. So I do believe if you get a very supportive family or a partner, you're lucky. But there is no getting away from guilt, because women, as you're emotional creatures, you're very sensitive people. So you are going to feel guilty. But as long as you feel that what you're doing, sometimes it's better if I'm out of the house, because if I'm in the house all the time, I'll harass my children more. So, sometimes it's better to be out of the house, and your perspectives change, your life changes, and everything changes. Your children also begin to look at you differently, begin to look at the world differently.
Usha, do you think because women go out to work, the children get far more independent? They get far more able to deal with the world than helicopter moms who are constantly solving problems before they come. And again, in that, the insight for women who are setting out now in this journey of being financial advisors, what is the insight from your own life that you can give?
I think it totally depends how you bring up your children as a mother, as parents, both together. Again, you should not see each other as, two separate entities. While raising a family, you have to be together. If you're together as a unit, you can raise a beautiful family. That is one thing. Communicate with your husband, with your spouse, very clearly. What do you want? What is your vision? What is your aspiration? And be together in that journey. Second is that communicate with children also. Whatever time you get, you need to talk to them about your work, involve them into your daily story, tell them what you have done. It encourages them to appreciate your effort. Third is delegate work to your children. Many times we delegate work in office, but children we think, okay, that guilt feeling comes. I've been out all the time, so let me pamper the child, or quality time, whatever we call that, okay, let me spend time, let him not do. I think that's the biggest wrong we are doing. We as working mothers has double duty to ensure that child is on his or her own feet. I normally say that 3 life skills we must teach our children. Cooking, whether it is son or daughter, it's a must, she must learn. Because in times to come, you won't have domestic support. We are, as a generation, we might have this double-edged sword of working mothers and taking responsibilities, but we also have this comfort of having domestic support. In times to next generation, we may not have. So give that life skill to child and overcome that. Many housewives also, I've seen that they are into kitty parties, into clubs, and children are haywire. So you can always do that job very finely if you're good at communication, delegation, and you are in control of, I won't say control, but you're managing the family as a unit, as an institution with love and care.